We have updates on the number one overall pick with the Titans. The Vikings address the Aaron Rodgers stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the 49ers, and the NFL kickoff rule might be changed again with the owners' meeting starting next week. NFL Spotlight starts now. Welcome in. It is the Thursday, March 27 edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. I am your host, Ari Meirov. Wednesday was not as busy as Tuesday around the NFL. Tuesday night, we had Russell Wilson, Stephon Diggs, and more. But there is a lot more here happening around the NFL. The NFL draft is 4 weeks from tonight. The NFL owners meetings gets underway on Sunday. Everybody checking in. And then Monday, Tuesday, potentially Wednesday, if it extends an extra day, the owners, GMs, head coaches, competition committee, everyone is meeting there. We might have some rule changes. We might have some media news as well. That is when all these different things goes on with all 32 teams under one roof. It's taking place in Florida this year. We'll talk much more about that, of course, next week, but we'll touch base a little bit on it also here today. But for now, let me bring in my good friend Ben Allen. Ben, what is going on? Where are we starting here on this Thursday?
What's going on, Ari? Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about what you were just mentioning off the top of the show there. The NFL draft, less than a month away. Tennessee Titans still have the first pick. They're largely expected to take Miami quarterback Cam Ward, but GM Mike Borgonzi is letting people know that, quote, everything's still on the table. What do you make of these comments? Is this just fishing to see if they can have somebody knock their socks off with an offer?
Yeah, that is kind of the way I looked at this. I mean, we mentioned it earlier this week before the Miami Pro Day that people around the NFL, not connected to the Titans, but actions speak louder than words. And the Titans' actions this offseason have told us that they are going to stick at number one and take the quarterback. Like they still have Will Levis. They've signed two veteran quarterbacks, Brandon Allen, Tim Boyle, definitely not starters there, more journeyman type of quarterback. So the actions of this offseason of not being in on Sam Darnold, not being in on Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, or trading for Geno Smith, or any of those things tells us that they are in a situation right now with this new front office that they are likely to stick at number one and take the quarterback in Cam Ward. Had a really impressive pro day, met with the Titans organization. They had quite literally everyone in that organization that matters there, including the head of football operations in Chad Brinker, GM Mike Borgonzi, assistant GM Dave Ziegler, veteran executive Reggie McKenzie, head coach Brian Callahan, offensive coordinator, passing game coordinator, AJ Highsmith, another scout. Like quite literally everyone from that organization that matters was there for the pro day. They watched him throw. They ate dinner with him the night before. They've done all the extensive work of here on Cam Ward. But the way this is working, and like we said earlier this week, this is a bit of a new front office over here, and they are essentially, after this pro day, the read I get on this is they're letting it known, like, hey, other teams, I'm sure you guys were also impressed by this Cam Ward guy. Let us know. Maybe you guys have some offers, and it's something out of the ordinary, like I don't know, Ricky Williams trade from back in the day when the Saints gave up quite literally their entire draft to move up from him. Maybe a team does something crazy like that. We'll listen. But otherwise, the expectation that I have, an expectation that teams around the NFL who are monitoring this closely, they believe that the Titans are going to stick at number one. I do believe the Browns at number two would love Cam Ward. I do believe the Giants at number three would love Cam Ward, and they for sure could call the Tennessee Titans. But I don't think the Titans are sliding back and losing Cam Ward if the offer they get is an extra first-round pick and a future second. Like, it's going to have to be something absolutely crazy. Like, one person told me, at least the Titans are listening. Last year, the Bears with Caleb, they were now willing to listen. The Commanders with Jaden Daniels, they were now willing to listen. Back in 2020, when Joe Burrow went number one to the Bengals, Brian Callahan was there as the offensive coordinator. The Bengals were willing to listen, even though they were never going to trade out. And right before the draft, the Miami Dolphins were trying like crazy to move up. They made crazy offers. Eventually, they took Tua at number 5, but they were trying to do it. And the Bengals were listening, but they knew down below they were never going to move on and not take Joe Burrow. So Brian Callahan and this front office, they're willing to listen right now. Maybe some team just does something absolutely insane where they just can't refuse. But the expectation remains, at least from what I gather from teams around the NFL, that the Titans are likely to stick over here, take the quarterback, and move forward with a new era with Cam Ward as their quarterback. And something could happen, something crazy could happen. But as of right now, I would be shocked if they don't just stick and pick.
All right. This next story is giving me PTSD from last year, Ari. The San Francisco 49ers, according to Jordan Schultz, are open to trading the injured Brandon Aiyuk. It's just everything's flashing in my head. I'm like, it's all over again. It's all over again last year. Well, maybe not quite as much. He got injured, tore the ACL, he got extended. Schultz says there is interest, but the belief is still that it's unlikely that he gets moved thanks to that injury. The asking price was high last year. What's it now?
I would be shocked if he's moved. And this has been going on all offseason. I think ESPN also reported this. And the 49ers, we've seen them have this offseason where they've kind of tore it down. Debo Samuel is out. They've moved on from, Greg Greenlaw left in free agency, Hufanga left in free agency. They cut a bunch of other players, Leonard Floyd, Malik Collins, and on and on. So this is an offseason where they've done a lot of cost-cutting moves. And if you asked the 49ers right now, do they regret not trading Brandon Aiyuk? I mean, do they regret extending Brandon Aiyuk? I do believe they'll tell you they regret doing that deal. I mean, they were very on and off last year. I mean, Ben, you remember we did episodes on episodes of this show talking about Steelers, Browns, Patriots. He will extend. He won't extend. He is accepting. He's not accepting. It was a mess, and it got ugly, and there was the whole thing with Kyle Shanahan. There's a lot going on there, and eventually both sides put their differences away, and they got a deal done. But like you mentioned, he tore his ACL early on. They barely got to see him on the field, and this past season for the 49ers was an utter disaster. Would they love to trade him? I do believe they would love to trade him and get a different team to take on the rest of the contract. But the clock is ticking here because the way the 49ers structure most of their contracts, there are, trigger dates in most of their contracts that's always on April 1st. Brandon Aiyuk is one of those players, and his trigger date this year is that the remaining $4 million that's not guaranteed in 2025 will trigger on April 1st, as well as his entire 2026 compensation will become fully guaranteed as well. That is about $26 million. So the 49ers will have to, if they want to trade him, it's going to have to happen before April 1st when that $31 million will essentially fully guarantee of the year for the rest of 2025 and for 2026 as well. They can't release him because he is an injured player, and the injury, of course, happened on the field. So that is off the table. So this money is set to trigger over here on Tuesday, April 1st. And I just have a hard time seeing a team saying, you know what, we'll take on that big contract where he got paid close to, I believe it was $30 million per year, and we'll take him coming off this ACL tear. I just don't see it happening, but if they want to trade him and if they're able to trade him, it's going to have to happen before April 1st. We know the teams that were interested last year. It was Patriots, it was Browns, it was Steelers. I just don't see those teams being in on it right now. The Steelers already made the big trade for DK Metcalf. The Patriots just signed Stephon Diggs, and the Browns are in a situation where I just don't see them trading for a receiver with the current roster construction that they are in. So I would eliminate those teams. I just don't see it happening. I think he ends up sticking on this roster, and they're going to have to move forward with him, wait for his ACL recovery to officially go by, and have him back on the field for 2025 is my prediction on all of this. But April 1st is a big day for the 49ers. Every year when it comes to their books, Nick Bosa's money is going to become guaranteed as well. George Odom, I see, Colton McKivitz. Like, this is the way they do a lot of their contracts, and that includes Brandon Aiyuk this year. And I expect that day to go by with him still on the roster. If a trade happens, I guarantee you they would be happy to get that money off the books. I just have a hard time seeing a team doing it right now.
Vikings GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah spoke to reporters on Wednesday and was asked about his quarterback room and potentially adding someone there. He gave two answers that I think are pretty telling. He started off by saying, right now, we're happy with our room. But when he was pushed a little bit more, particularly on Aaron Rodgers, he said, for me to sit here and say anything is 100% forever, that's just not the job. The room he's talking about currently consists of redshirt rookie J.J. McCarthy and journeyman Brett Rippon. Do you think Kwesi's telling the truth when he says that they're happy with what they have?
Right. So a few things here. First of all, as somebody who watches way too many press conferences over the course of a year, I've watched many Minnesota Vikings one. Quincy Fomenta saying we're going to leave the door open or we're never going to shut the door on something. That is the answer he gives on everything. The Vikings have always been an organization that we're not going to just shut the door on something. Like if it's a possibility, we'll never say no to it. We'll keep on monitoring it and all that. So I was not surprised by that answer. But like I've said over here for a number of weeks now, the Vikings are not going into this season with just JJ McCarthy and no real veteran on that roster. I know Brett Rippon is there, but they're going to have to add somebody else over here who could push JJ and get him really to earn that QB1 spot. He was with Kay Adams this week. He said the team has not told me anything about me being the starter, and I like it that way. And that's the way it is right now. So we've heard the Ryan Tannehill buzz. We'll see some other veterans as well. Maybe Kirk Cousins gets released if something like that happens. Maybe Kirk comes back. I just don't see Kirk being a backup. But that's a situation right now where the Vikings want J.J. McCarthy to earn the QB1 job. Now, Aaron Rodgers, until he's actually signed by a team or he announces he's not playing, the possibility of Minnesota is always going to be out there, but we've heard from reports out there that their preference is to have JJ as the guy and somebody else pushing him. If Aaron joins this team, Aaron is not joining to have a competition. He is joining and he's going to be QB1. And essentially, you're going to have JJ sit for a second straight year. Minnesota prefers not to do that. They're really looking for a veteran who could come in there, push the guy, and essentially have him earn the job. And so far, they have not found that quarterback. They were interested in bringing back Sam Darnold, and that also would have been he likely has the job, but we'll see what happens. And then because he has experience with the team, then Daniel Jones, if they're going to bring him back, he was going to be the guy who pushes JJ McCarthy to win the job. So they're looking for somebody like a Daniel Jones. So for now, I still don't believe the Aaron Rodgers thing is real. If we get towards, mini camp eventually and Aaron Rodgers is still out there and JJ is struggling and the Vikings are like, we can have this roster that won 14 games this past year and had good quarterback play with Sam Darnold and tell them this is our best option, and Aaron is still out there, maybe, just maybe, it becomes a real thing again and Aaron becomes an option. But I have a hard time seeing Aaron being an option right now as we speak. He did mention, Quetzalcoatl Fomento did mention that Kevin O'Connell has spoken directly to Aaron Rodgers. Those two have a relationship dating over a decade now. They both came into the NFL around the same time. There's a lot of mutual respect. They're both from the West Coast. So they've had that communication, but it sounds like O'Connell told Rodgers that right now we're sticking with what we have, and we might add a different veteran quarterback who's going to push him. So I just don't see it being an option as of right now. Again, JJ lost a lot of weight last year. He had that torn meniscus. He had a cleanup as a second operation as well. He has gained that weight back. There are people in the NFL, for what it's worth, who doubt that McCarthy could do it this year and just be the guy alone. They're going to have to add somebody else to this roster, and that is their plan. But again, if you're telling me right now that in March or in April, Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Vikings, I have a hard time seeing that happen.
And finally, the NFL Competition Committee has proposed, among a few things, that NFL touchbacks be moved from the 30-yard line to the 35. This is in an effort to try to create more kickoff returns. What are the odds that this happens?
I would say this has a high chance of passing. Again, owners are going to have to approve it here, but this was actually the initial proposal last year when the NFL went to this new dynamic kickoff. The initial proposal was that if a team kicks it out of the end zone, it's going to go to the 35-yard line. Last minute, before it was approved, they changed it to the 30. Now, the NFL was really happy with this new dynamic kickoff rule. They definitely saw more returns. They saw less injuries. We had Dr. Alan Sills here on the show before the Super Bowl, and he said how happy they were about this, but they want more returns than that. And the NFL's idea right now is that this past season, there were teams who were like, this dynamic kickoff rule, there's a chance the guy is going to take it to the house. Well, we don't want that. We're okay with kicking it out of the end zone and letting the offense start at the 30. If now you're kicking it out of the end zone and starting at the 35, NFL teams, the NFL believes, are not going to kick it out of the end zone, and they're going to kick it short of the end zone, forcing the team to return the ball, which is what the NFL wants. According to the NFL's data, they had about 30% of kickoffs returned last year, which was up from the normal number. They believe if they move it from the 30 to the 35, the starting point for a touchback, they're going to get closer to 60 to potentially even 70% on returns next year. We know why the NFL wanted to do this initially. The idea was to have more returns, more action. Initially, the kickoff rule, the old kickoff rule, it was a ceremonial play. It was a bathroom break, as Darren Rizzi, the former Saints special teams coordinator, now the Broncos special teams coordinator, told us here on the show last year. They wanted to make it more exciting. It got more exciting last year, but now the goal is to make it even more exciting, more returns. And the NFL's idea is that if they're going to kick out of the end zone and start at the 35, teams are not going to allow that to happen. They're going to be okay with allowing a return and trying to stop them before the 35-yard line. So that is where the NFL stands right now. I know the 49ers were a team that were like, we're okay with just starting at the 30, no need for returns, and that's it. The NFL wants teams not to have that mindset. They want to have returns, and this is going to be proposed. It was proposed, and there's a good chance it gets voted on at the NFL owners' meetings, whether it's on Monday or Tuesday, potentially Wednesday. They're going to vote on it. I would say there is a high likelihood that it passes, and if it does, it's going to be another wrinkle to this new dynamic kickoff rule, which is here to stay in 2025.
It's opening day for baseball, Ari. What's your expectations for the Mets this year?
People don't know I am a New York Mets fan. Really excited kicking off there, getting it off over here today. Versus the
football podcast.
Football podcast, exactly. Houston Astros today in Houston. I mean, I can't be more excited because we made it to the NLCS last year, lost in 6 to the best team, the Dodgers, and then you add Juan Soto. So I'm excited about this team. Going to go at some point over here to Citi Field once they finally come home, because they start the year with 2 road series. But I expect to go there. I expect it to be a great year. A little bit concerned about the pitching, I'll be honest with you, Ben, but this is a team that obviously defeated expectations with the way they started last year, made it to the playoffs. Lindor was awesome, Vientos, Nimmo, and now, of course, you add Juan Soto to this lineup as well. Can't get any better. So I'm excited for my New York Mets, and baseball season being here is great. I mean, I love baseball. It's probably my second favorite sport after football, of course, and my team is exciting this year, so I can't really ask for much more than that.
This has been a My Sports Update baseball update. It's like a flashback to like 9 years ago or something. Anyway, make sure you guys are subscribed on all platforms. Make sure you're following Ari on X for, football and the occasional baseball reference, I guess. That's all I got for you, Ari. Hope you enjoy opening day.
Over under on baseball tweets this year from my account is 2.5. I will take the under, but we'll see what ends up happening. But that will do it here for our Thursday, March 27 edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. We will be back here tomorrow to wrap up the week. I doubt we'll be talking about baseball, but I guess you never know. But expect a lot more football talk over here on the show tomorrow, and we will see you all then.